Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Wednesday, the second day of October 2022, Wednesday of the 31st week of the year, but today we celebrate, as the accompaniment to All Saints' Day yesterday, the commemoration of all the faithful departed. Not a memorial, not a feast, not a solemnity, just a commemoration of the faithful departed. All Souls' Day, it is a day that arises in many ways when we begin to question and doubt our own holiness, our own sanctity, our own chosenness by God. And it kind of evolves into this idea of praying for souls in purgatory, which really it is not. It is remembering the connectedness that we always have to those who go before us, those who are yet to come, those who live present now. It is one continuous whole always. And so coming to you from our memorial garden, a little corner of it, as people begin to arrive for Mass and the preschool opening, we are adding on to the columbarium, and so there's a lot of construction going on over here to my left, which might be your right as you're looking at me. But the columbarium is still looking wonderful in fall. I think the carnelians have blossomed and they're just about at the end of their blossoming stage. But a beautiful thing on this morning, on November the 2nd. The variety of readings that one can use, mostly from funerals, but some that are chosen especially for the commemoration of All Souls. All of them deal with the fact that God takes care of us. There isn't any pleading and begging. There isn't any mention of purgatory. There isn't any mention of a God picking and choosing those who are better than others. It isn't about trying to make sure that God notices us and that God will help to redeem us when we pass from this life to the next. It is all about knowing that because everything has been given to Christ, and that has to be remembered always. Everything has been given to Christ. Not only those things that are good, not only those things that do things right, not only those things that are perfect, but everything is given to Christ, for Christ to do something with it. And because it all has been given to Christ, it cannot be lost. Because if something is given to Christ and it is lost, then Christ has no power to redeem. Christ has no power to save. It's always important to remember these very basic theological precepts. And they come into play here on the Solemnity of All Souls. Worrying about what happens to us after we die is not as important as building the connections in this life with all that God gives us in this life, so that like what Christ is given, we too may nurture what God gives each one of us, and especially in the relationships, in the bonds, in the friendships, in the love, in the care that we show for each other as human being to human being. That is the most precious gift always that God gives to this world, that God gives to each one of us. Material things vanish, all of our accolades and all of our achievements will vanish, but the bonds that we create with one another are lasting. And in a wonderful way, the first prayer for reconciliation, the first Eucharistic prayer for reconciliation speaks about God binding us by Christ to God's self with a bond of love so tight that it can never be undone. That is something very important for us to remember and to consider and to think about on this All Souls Day. If God binds us with a bond so tight that it can never be undone, a bond of love so tight that it can never be undone, what kind of connections, what kind of tie, what kind of bond can we create between each other that is based upon love, that comes out of love, so that it can never be undone? So the richness of our relationships with one another may be something that not only enriches our lives and furthers our lives and allows our lives to flourish in this life, but also continue in the life that is to come. And may the Lord give you his peace.